Hello, my friends. The subject today is again about the mirror. I cannot tell you how powerful this is when you really grok it, when you really grasp it. And that's what's been happening to me for a while now. And I do remember about a year ago, I was at a retreat and I had this realization, this seeing that it is a mirror that everybody who came to me or whatever happened, to me in my life or happened as me was me. And it's quite big to see that. And I remember I was crying because it was so beautiful, especially the mirror that I just saw at that moment was a very loving mirror. And I was like, oh my God, so loving. I'm so loving. I'm just coming back here to help me see that I am love, that there's only love, that love wants to love me, and that I had all these layers of protection around me to keep it out. And it didn't all go away by that realization, but it's been a beautiful deepening. And I have talked a lot about the mirror and how the smear in our windshield is basically what are our unintegrated, unloved, excluded parts that we then project out there and think that these people are doing this to me, but it's something inside here that we have not yet been able to meet in a way where it feels safe and helpful. Because for the most part, we turn away, right? It's like even even in a regular mirror, and I want to use that also as when you look into a regular mirror, whether maybe your bathroom mirror or in your bedroom, the big mirrors, from ceiling to floor. I'm sure we all have this when we see ourselves. There's like, right, there's a little contraction unless you've done a lot of work on yourself and you walk by the mirror or you see yourself in the mirror and you just feel deep love for yourself. That's kind of where we want to be, right? So that we don't deny ourselves the love that we already are. So if I would ask you, when you look into a real mirror, if you have one right next to you, you can do it or afterwards. What what happens? Do you shrink? Do you contract? Do you go like, ooh? Do you look away? Do you pull in your belly if it's a full length mirror? All the things we do, because these are things we do not like about ourselves. And then for many women and men too now, that is true. But for a long time, as women, we put a lot of makeup on, like a mask, because we don't feel okay about showing ourselves the way we look without all that fluff and fancy stuff. And I agree, it can look incredibly beautiful when you put on some makeup and maybe just a little bit to spice it all up. But underneath there might be a big shrinking, before the makeup comes on, because we have not learned to fully embrace ourselves. And then, so the mirror, the real mirror, is a nice way to become aware of what's going on, because right there you will be able to notice what is the smear. What are you seeing when you look into the mirror? You're not seeing yourself, because that's pure beauty and that's where we want to get to, of course. But when you look through that unintegrated part of yourself, you might just go, Oh, no, 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 I can't handle that. So what is this thing that you have a very hard time seeing through? Maybe you don't even want to because you're so convinced that this is you, but it's not. So if you have the time later today, I want to just invite you to stand in front of a mirror and just notice what shows up in you. How do you react? How do you respond? What do you say to yourself? What do you say to that mirror? These are things that are really, really important to notice because these are the unconscious programming that have been programmed into us. It's not who we are. None of it is who we are. But because the program is so strong, it's like our whole nervous system and neural pathways, they are reacting immediately to such a thought, such a program, that there's no space in between to question it, right? And that's why a lot of the things that I talk about here is hopefully it will create a little gap so you'll be able to just pause before you just hook into the matrix and take on the programming. So this would be a lovely little exercise just to become a little more conscious of what is the smear that you are not able to see through is so real that you just can't even handle looking at it. You just have to look away and do whatever you need to do. And now you know when you do that, and when you do that more regularly, in whatever way, then you can start um, relating that to what is going on with you in the world. What are the responses? What keeps happening in your life that you can't quite understand? Why are these people angry at you when you are not being angry? Like, how is that? What kind of a mirror is that? And that's where we often may dismiss it and say, no, I'm not an angry person. Sometimes people say, no, I'm not an angry person because it's so unconscious. Or there is another flavor to it where it's not that we are angry, but there's something where we think that other people are angry at us. And this is a lot of my own story because I grew up with a very, very angry father, rageaholic. He was always angry and yelling and shaming and blaming and threatening. So of course my nervous system took that on as the world is not safe. I'm not liked, I'm not loved, all these things. And then I know I'm not the only one. This is the general matrix flavor that we all walk around with, as did my father, all our parents, because we were all born into this. And it doesn't do us much good to keep ignoring it and kind of pushing it away, because then we will not be able to clear that smear, and then we will keep seeing that in the world, and it's just our own projection. So it's very important to become aware of course, that's what's called shadow work, of our shadow parts that have not been receiving our own light and our own love. So they remain in the darkness, and then they keep running our lives, and we believe it's true. Oh, what happened? My cat just came running in like something. Are you okay, Shanti? Sorry about that. Um, and when you understand that, so like here you are in the mirror, you can see that, oh, this is a smear, and I'm projecting it right out on my own mirror, like you're not good enough, you're a loser, whatever. Look at your hair, look at your whatever, right? That is all the stuff we're projecting out there. And the mirror is neutral. That is what's so powerful about mirror work. The mirror is neutral. If you make a funny grimace, you will see it right there, right? And if you have a beautiful smile, you will see a beautiful smile coming back to you. The mirror is neutral. Very, very important to get that. Because when you can see that, then there are no boogeymen out there trying to get you. It is your own mirror reflection. Not necessarily, again, that you are a boogeyman, but there is a part of you that is expecting the boogeyman to show up, maybe, because that's what you grew up with. And of course, we all have our own flavor of that. And that's that smear we keep walking around, projecting out. And then we wonder, why is this always happening to me? And rarely, unless you really are fully um, immersed and committed to doing that deeper shadow work, then you will see it. But for those where it might be new, it's like, no, that's nonsense. I'm not like that. But inside, we are like that to ourselves. That's how close it all comes to home. So, yes, you are that. And for the most part, we are that to ourselves. And that is then what the mirror is, just showing you what's going on inside. It's not judging you, it's not shaming or blaming you. It's just showing you, yes, I'm just a mirror. Here's what I see. And then if we're open, we can start seeing it, and then we can start doing the deeper shadow work by bringing light to it, by bringing love to it. And as we do that, you may know I've called myself a self-love mentor for many, many years, because I realized that love for ourselves was the missing piece for most people. And as we deepen in those layers, we end up coming to the very deep core ones. And they can be very sticky. They may just be holding out, you've done all this work, but why is this still happening? Keep going. Do not give up there. I know the feeling of wanting to give up. I've done all this work and it's still happening. Keep going, please. It's going to change, because as soon as we just bring the full love to ourselves, that's when the portal of the divine opens. And then it can just come flooding in, the qualities of the divine, who we truly are. And then we don't have to work so hard to get our needs met, which is also part of the smear. These are all things that we have taken on as granted, and we don't question them. We just have accepted them as this is how it is. And it keeps being reflected back to us. So when I talk about the mirror, and I'm saying it's all something that's about ourselves that is being reflected back. That's where many people go like, well, are you saying that I'm doing that, right? It brings up this defense right away. I've seen it so many times. Even just a gentle suggestion. It's very hard to accept that the world is a mirror of ourselves. But it's done with love. It is done in a way so that we can see what we are projecting out. There is no judgment in it. There is no putting down or criticizing or anything like that. That is part of that smear. And that's why we react. We may have been judged a lot and may have been told it's your fault. Well, that automatically, that's a big thing, right? And then we keep moving around in the world, and we're always at fault. And we're like, we don't understand, because we feel pretty innocent about it. And you can see how this relates. We all have an innocence inside of us that is covered with all these layers and of projection. The innocence you feel is very, very real. And here's the beauty. When you start embracing that about yourself, guess what? The mirror will reflect that back. The mirror is neutral. It's just a reflection of how you show up. And the more we become aware of how we show up, the more we'll be able to soften the edges, speak more kindly to ourselves in the mirror, right? Imagine, smile to yourself, allow yourself to soften, allow your heart to soften towards yourself. And this is some work we can do in a real mirror, because you can actually look at yourself, and instead of like, or, whatever we do, try to smile. Just try it. See if it's possible. And if it's not possible, then it's a clue. You'll know what's standing in the way. You will know exactly what you're telling yourself. And then you know that this is the smear. This is the programmed uh, filter that is getting in the way of your view of seeing who you truly are. So try it out, my friends. Try it out. It's simple. Next time you're up in the bathroom, just look at yourself and try just to smile. Just give yourself a little smile, maybe a little wink. And then see if you can just soften a little bit when you look at yourself. You might feel the contraction. Just breathe into that and just see if you can just soften a little bit. And then maybe you can say something. You can speak something kind to yourself. It could be very simple, like, I know you're doing your best, or I'm sorry, I'm so hard towards you. Things like that, they may not look like a lot, but they're huge, especially if you keep implementing them. It's like these little steps you take. And you take a little step, a little smile, a little softening, a little soft, kind words, and you just move along. And suddenly you've come to here. You started here, now you're here because you did all these small steps. And now you feel a little different. Now when you see yourself in the mirror, you may just naturally smile because it feels good, or you actually like it. And that smear is going to soften because this is your choice. Now it is conscious, therefore you have choice. And that's when we can start the programming that we've all been filled with from the day we were born. I find the mirror so powerful because it is neutral. It gives me a very clear reflection of what's going on in here. Either when I look in the mirror, see what comes up, or when I look in the world and see what is happening in my perception. Then you know more about what it is that you have not fully embraced yet, which you have not fully opened up to. And those are the parts where we're still closed, and therefore we cannot receive the fullness and the fulfillment of who we are, because we keep saying, no, I don't like myself. No, I don't deserve that. No, I can't do that. So these are just doors, metal doors that will not let the fullness of who we are in. And that's why when we start softening these very tight doors by a little more love, a little more softness, a little more kindness, then they start opening up. And as they open up a little bit, see, now there's a little gap here. Now some of that can start coming through. And then when you start experiencing that more in your life, you go, oh, wow, when I'm being kind to myself, or when I'm willing to, be present with these old parts that I've never liked, then actually energy starts moving and life gets a little easier, or maybe a lot easier. So that's where we can start moving towards, where we can start dropping that mask, that cloth we've been covering ourselves with, and then judging ourselves for wearing that cloth, right? It's so crazy. When you really start seeing it, you realize you actually are doing it all to yourself, but there's no judgment in it. There's no wrong making or any of that. That doesn't even, it just seems like, wow, did I really do that for all these years? And then like, I don't want to do that anymore. So there's a joy, there's a lightness, there's a love in it. And that's, of course, when we start opening up more and more of the divine flow that is just here. It's just, again, it's neutral. It's neutral. It's a mirror. Okay, if you want to close here from receiving, I'm still here. And as soon as you open up and you say yes to receiving, then I'll come right in because I'm everywhere. So it's a journey. I'm certainly on it myself, and I'm learning a lot about everything I share. It's my own experience, it's my own journey, and it's my own learning. And then from that place, I love to share it with you. All right, friends, please comment below if you want, like, share, subscribe if you want to hear more about what I offer. And this coming Tuesday, which is August 5th, I have my next online gathering called Feel Your Deepest Longing, Find Your Spiritual Calling. And that is where we dive into that a little more together. And it's usually a small group, so you will feel safe in there. And if you want to start sharing and opening up a little more, um, please join. The link is in the description below. I hope to see you on Tuesday. But if not Tuesday, I will probably be back tomorrow or the day after. Have a great day.